War in Ukraine breaking overnight. Ukrainian officials announcing an agreement with Russia on a ceasefire to allow for the evacuation of a number of cities in the eastern half of the country. One of those cities is Sumy, which has been under siege by Russian forces for days. Ukraine's Ministry of Internal Affairs says at least 9 people have died, including 2 children. This comes one day after Ukraine rejected Russia's offer of 5 humanitarian corridors, which would have allowed people to leave several major cities. But most of those corridors led to Russia or its close ally, Belarus. Despite this, the flood of refugees out of Ukraine has been nonstop. This morning, a staggering statistic from the UN, 2 million people have now fled the country since the war started. It's the fastest exodus Europe has seen since World War II.
For many families, leaving is not an option, like one mother of a baby born 6 weeks premature who spoke with our Lester Holt from a hospital in Lviv.
What will you someday tell Anna about the world that she was born into?
Of course. She's a child of a war.
Overnight, this dramatic video from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, video he took of himself inside his presidential office in the heart of Kyiv, essentially daring the Russians to come and get him. NBC News foreign correspondent Molly Hunter is in western Ukraine and begins our coverage this morning on the start of those humanitarian evacuations.
Hi, good morning. That's right. For the 4th day in a row, residents in some of these hardest hit towns and cities in the east of the country are waking up with the hope of a ceasefire, with the hope of possibly getting out today. So all eyes are on Sumy. It is a town in the northeast of the country. It is east of Kyiv. It's north of Kharkiv, right near the Russian border. It was hit incredibly hard overnight. We have information from the Ukrainian Interior Ministry. 21 people were killed, including children. Now, all eyes are on that because that is the only town where the Ukrainians and the Russians have agreed to a humanitarian corridor to evacuate civilians from that town. That route goes from Sumy and it goes south to Poltava. It does not go west to the relative safety of the country where I am. It doesn't even really get people into the center of the country. Now, Russia had proposed 4 additional humanitarian corridors that left other besieged cities in the east of the country. The problem for the Ukrainians is those humanitarian corridors led directly to Belarus or Russia. And for the Ukrainians, that was absolutely not an option. Now, from the Ukrainian side, they are also saying this morning we have information that the Russian side is preparing to violate this corridor. They prepare manipulations with the routes to make people go in a different direction. So we will be watching this first humanitarian corridor, these ICRC buses leaving Sumy very, very closely. We are in touch with the ICRC. The other big question is whether or not, as people go out, humanitarian aid is going in. But the real goal for all of these people, these civilians who are in these besieged towns like Sumy, is to get to the relative safety of the west of the country where we are. Now, we just got new numbers from the UNHCR. 2 million refugees have actually left the country. That doesn't even count all the IDPs, all the internally displaced people who either can't get out of their cities, who have moved to other cities, or who are in Lviv, which is where we are right now. Apparently, according to the mayor, 200,000 people are in Lviv. Not everyone wants to become a refugee. Some people really believe that Ukraine may win this. They may be able to return home, and they are planning to stay here and fight it out. But as that number grows, it becomes more and more unsustainable.